Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. And today I wanted to get into a conversation that I actually had with a few friends of mine not that long ago. Actually going back to the time that I recently did a video about AI. You could check back in the channel for that. And about how artificial intelligence is changing the dynamics of a lot of things inside the world, including the way people will consume media and including like certain jobs and things of that sort, even relating to, I went into the area of even certain like female jobs, for example, things like, because the discussion that we got into was jumped towards things like OnlyFans and how like it affects women. Our conversation later on went into a space of, feminism a little bit in terms of how, some of this group of that I was discussing with was saying things like, oh, well, they have the right to have, those the OnlyFans type of jobs. It's not a problem with it. And how it doesn't necessarily hurt society. Well, another group of the people discussing was like, it does hurt society and whatnot. But essentially, going from that topic to what I'm going to discuss today is about how a lot of times in that kind of pro-feminist space, and I'm not getting into this topic in regards to attacking that. This is not what this topic's about. But in that idea of quote unquote, the man is holding, us down. When I say that, I mean like just this entity or what's perceived as this entity. And a lot of times you go into this territory of, women want to have certain equal aspects or equalization to men in regards to certain things. And it's almost like an attack on, the man, like the man's trying to hold us back, whatever the case is. Now, whether you agree with that or not, that's still not even the specific topic of what this conversation is. I'm just trying to detail how we're going to get to the topic of hand for this specific conversation. And that is how the idea of quote unquote, this entity that a lot of people today in society are trying to push back against, like, the man are trying to control everything. The man's trying to do this. It's the man's way. We want equalization. That attack, I understand and I believe is targeted supposed to be towards the more richer entities or the richer people who are probably controlling everything and, making the world go round. The ones who are empowered, the people who are millions and millions of dollars, billions of dollars and whatnot. And here's the topic of today's discussion is that though I think that fight, whether you think it's a legit fight or not, that pushback against the man, quote unquote, especially when it comes to the feminist world, and having equalized rights and being able to do certain things that ultimately a lot of people feel are kind of breaking up the family dynamic to some degree, the traditional family dynamic, that fight is actually supposed to be towards not just your average person, because your average person is not even really, or your average man is not even really at the forefront of even controlling these things, these things that might hold people down. It's really like the rich, or specifically the rich men. But that fight to go against quote unquote the man, I feel is a thing that in society, and a lot of people aren't going to realize this, like the kind of blanket over everybody's head is that the rich and empowered men who run things, who run the world, or at least run the US or however you want to denominate it, they like that fight ultimately, because it's not a fight that's actually affecting them. If anything, it's eliminating any competition from rising to that point, because all those things that push back, like I said, going part of the conversation that I had with these group of people at that time was even things, for example, the concept of like, say something like OnlyFans, and how OnlyFans has, a lot of men now who can't get women, because then we know the question, what came first, the chicken or the egg, men not getting women, or so now they result to that, or if it's women are making it hard for men, so now they have no choice to go to that, whatever one came first. But the point is that now you have a lot of men who they partake in that. And even though you might not know anybody. The point is that who's doing that? These people are making a lot of money. It changes the dynamic of, if women are getting a lot of money from things like this. And I'm just using this example. There's many other different aspects of where, people might argue that feminism is hurting the household, the traditional household. But essentially, you have that where it's hurting the average guy, even though the way the dating market is. You don't have that aspect of where a man is in charge of the house. He can't build. This is just a fact, regardless of the matter. A man can't build in a house. He can't be the leader of the house if no one in the household listens to him. That's just a fact of the matter. So, but that concept, that dynamic is being destroyed. And the thing about it is the pushback, who it's supposed to go against women feeling less empowered, really is an attack that's supposed to go to the rich who are in charge of everything. At least this is the perception that I'm seeing and realizing behind the scenes. Because like I said, it's not the basic or the average men who are controlling things, but yet the kickback is actually coming to the average men. And so those people who are empowered want this. Why? Because it stops all competition from reaching them. It stops anyone else who wants to build family, who wants to try to, gain more in life. Because part of the basis for a man to be able to build wealth is family. Not directly, but indirectly, in the sense that that's usually what gives a guy his motivation. That usually what gives him the drive or the purpose to actually have more. If a guy doesn't have family, and you see this in society now, most guys who don't have family, don't have girlfriends, don't have anything, will just play video games and just chill and have fun, and they won't aspire to more, because what's the point? If their goal is not family, a lot of times it's like, well, I don't need to try to have more. And so essentially the pushback is eliminating that competition. It's eliminating that competition on that lower level, because like I said, once you eliminate anyone from trying to have family, because at the end of the day, those people who are rich and empowered are still going to have what they want. They're still going to have family. Those type of men, that dynamic, they're still going to have everything they want. No woman is going to push back. Feminism is not going to be able to push back on a person who is rich, meaning that rich guy is still going to get what he wants. He's going to have what he wants. He's going to all the rules that he wants. If he wants to push his dominance on somebody, whether you believe that's wrong or right, in terms of him being the ruler of the household, or whatever the case is, he's still going to have that. The ones who are not going to be able to compete with that, the rising bar to meet for this pushback, the average man is not going to be able to meet it. So it eliminates the average man from being able to reproduce, from having a household structure, for anything of that sort. And now essentially you start having large populations of people who are just under the control and thumb of the rich and powerful, who are controlling the dynamic, because they're the ones with family, they're the ones in power, and they're making it so that the people on the bottom doesn't have power. Not because the rich people are necessarily causing that, but because this push of feminism and the women ruling the household, and us losing that traditional dynamic, which is what inspires families to even want to have families, rather than stay single, vacation, spend money, go nightlife up until they're 35, 40 years old, which is what's happening more days, rather than starting families in the young 20s, creates that dynamic. So just a little bit of food for thought that I had, want to put out there as a topic. I really want to hear your opinions on that. If you guys can comment down below, what are your thoughts on that? Is this something that you feel is the case? Are you seeing this happen around you, where you feel that push of quote unquote down with the man is really supposed to be targeted for a group of people that is not actually the average people walking on the streets? Or do you feel that the average people walking around the streets, the average men, are that empowered, that they are, they are the reason why you have this pushback of, where women might say, we need more rights, more equalization, not rights, but I would say equalization in terms of everything, to be fair and equal. Do you feel that that is something that they're getting from the average man, and not just a perception of the rich and powerful coming down on them? Let me know your thoughts down below, you guys. Always like, share, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.